Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined virtually via Zoom, as usual, by my good friends Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
Richard and Michael like to discuss the most ubiquitous aspect of many topics. This week's topic was chosen by Michael, and tell us what it is, Michael.
It's the Mount Rushmore of Dragons.
Wow.
And in parentheses, fictional, because I didn't want to get into like the Komodo dragon, because you're just a big lizard, like with a fancy name.
What about the band Imagine Dragons? Is that
Imagine
okay?
Dragons. Yeah.
I would like to see you defend that.
Would have no defense of that whatsoever.
And I think I chose this because we've been, with our near 3-year-old now, we've been watching Sleeping Beauty almost like on repeat. Oh. And at some point, Maleficent, the evil queen, turns into a giant fire-breathing dragon. Mm-hmm. And so just this image of a dragon is, pardon the pun, seared into my head. And I thought, what other fun dragons can we talk about? But also I thought, man, I just don't want to talk about being sick. And I don't want to talk about like being quarantined our last two episodes. So I thought a little bit of fantasy would kind of help us in our reality.
Okay, I want to question, is it really fantasy? Because I would say more so than I'd say like a centaur or a satyr,
right?
Or even a demon. I feel like a dragon feels like, we might have had those at some point. I don't know.
I do like the idea of someone finding like the bones of like a horse and a man that were crushed at the same time, and then they just started putting them back together, and they're like, I think it looks like that.
I have been
and maybe they did the same thing with like a dragon.
Is it like a dinosaur that fell on a pterodactyl or something somehow?
Just smushed together and like, it had wings. My son has a book that you can just kind of flip down the pages and make all these different creatures, like a rhinoceros and a platypus and like a dung beetle, and it's like the platy beetle, and he just flips and changes them around. I love the idea of like these wackos just doing that.
Yeah.
It's the body of a snake and the head of a lion, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Scorpion legs, sure.
Yeah. Do I get in the Royal Hall of Science now?
Right.
All right, Manfredi.
Well, one last thing. One last thing. Sorry, before we get to Richard. One thing I do like about dragons is that like every culture has some sort of like either dragon myth or some sort of this idea of this great kind of serpenty other beast that's unknown.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty interesting in how that has kind of affected whether it's like fantasy literature or just cultural kind of dragon type stuff. And they're all fictional dragons until we delve down too deep and discover the one that really is underneath there that we all know is there. But
go to your
anyway.
Okay. Manfredi, enter your
all right. So, do you have anything else, Michael, or can we start?
Oh no, please, go right ahead.
My first choice is, let me put it this way. We all remember Bing Bong from Inside Out.
Oh yeah.
Remember that character, everyone's favorite imaginary friend?
Yeah.
Well, it should be everyone's second favorite imaginary friend, because their first favorite imaginary friend was probably Puff the Magic Dragon.
There you go. Yeah.
Song written by Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary and his roommate at Cornell University, Leonard Lipton, who came up with had this poem that he had to get out of his head, and he typed it up on on a typewriter. And then years later, Peter Yarrow took the poem and put music to it and got a hold of him out of the blue saying, hey, we're going to release this song that's basically your poem put to music. I'm going to give you half the songwriting credits. So he gets, probably millions of dollars. He probably made millions of dollars over the years from this song.
Wow.
And it's, I think most people remember this song about little Jackie Paper.
Yeah.
What a lousy last name. No wonder he didn't. No wonder he needed a fictional place, an imaginary place to go. He probably got teased all the time because his last name was freaking Paper. But a little boy who has an imaginary friend called Puff the Magic Dragon, and they have adventures in this place called Honolulu, this island, and over time, Jackie Paper grows up and eventually starts to lose interest in Puff the Magic Dragon and eventually leaves him. And for a song that is so beloved, it's kind of a dark fucking song. I mean, it really is about like Puff the Magic Dragon being forgotten and sort of ceasing to exist because the kid who invented him doesn't remember him anymore. It's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy for us. It's pretty heavy for a song that I used to sing in kindergarten music class. You know. And I remember there was a TV special that was Puff the Magic Dragon.
Oh yeah.
And it's all kinds of messed up. Like the kid was actually Jackie Draper.
Yeah.
He had the Tommy from the Who's Tommy thing where he couldn't speak because of some psychological trauma, and the only way that he could communicate was through this making paper dolls of himself called Jackie Paper and interacting with Puff, and it's just weird. But you know, I think I think like you said, dragons are kind of stride this line between real and imaginary. And I would imagine that having an imaginary dragon would be something that a lot of kids probably had growing up. So I think this is a pretty representative example of dragons as feeling so real, even though they're not actually real, especially to a little kid.
Yeah. Do you feel like that? So I was introduced to some other fictional kind of Tolkienian dragons in the 70s, but Puff might be the real 60s dragon. It seems like he's definitely the other side of the Harry Chapin Cats in the Cradle story. But he is in this case, he's kind of a cautionary tale of never grow so old that you don't have a little bit of whimsy in your heart, and never let these childhood friends, be they fire-breathing reptilian monsters or not, go totally away and lose all your imagination. But I want to thank Barbara Howes and Stacy Marriott, who are Facebook supporters of the Mount Rushmore podcast, who both said Puff the Magic.
Good.
And then both Stacy added both from the original and most recent. I'm like, what was the most recent? I didn't realize there was a most recent.
Oh, I think Drake did a version of it. Yeah.
Oh yes, I could see Snoop Dogg, but maybe.
Snoop! Yeah, Snoop. I think Snoop would take the wrong message from Puff the Magic Dragon, though.
I would also like to commend Lee Sandberg, who didn't really answer anything, but she said not Puff. So.
Oh, cool! I'm glad I could ruin it for you, Lee.
Yeah. Okay, Winfield, what's your first one?
Well, my first choice, and you just alluded to it in your with what you said, Jeff, was Smaug. A name that is almost also on your list. Yeah, it's a name that is so often difficult to say. I'm never sure if I'm saying it right. Is it Smaug? Is it Smaug? Is it? And you just, it's one of those names that I get angry at, like Tolkien literary people, like experts, who I'm sure will chide any way you say it, and it will always be wrong. But,
when Stephen Colbert listens to this episode, he's going to write us an angry letter.
I think the true historians would say it's not pronounced Smaug, it's pronounced Adolf Hitler. Because that's what it was all about. Okay.
He's kind of like the fantasy dragon of record, you'd say. If you don't know the story of The Hobbit, there is a 9-hour Peter Jackson version that is really just kind of difficult to watch.
Yes, it's a slog.
It is so long, but the best part about it is definitely Benedict Cumberbatch coming in as like this as the dragon when they finally get to the Lonely Mountain. But the stories of these 13 dwarves, along with Gandalf, the wizard who recruit a hobbit named the titular hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, to be the burglar to help break into the city of Erebor in the Lonely Mountain, where this giant dragon, Smaug, has basically stolen all of their gold and has been sitting on this giant hoard of gold and jewels and diamonds and yada, 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 and they have to kind of steal it back. And their encounters with him is great because he's not just like a beast. He's very intelligent and cruel and greedy, as well as being a powerful breathing dragon the size of, 2 jumbo jets. And I think that I do enjoy that with like fantasy novels, especially this one, that dragons aren't just animals, that they have like another sort of intelligence. They are a creature that is wholly different from a horse, so to speak. And I think you kind of see elements of that in other fantasy books and TV series and movies where these dragons are like in Harry Potter, where they're just kind of like these big animals. And I think it loses something from a character like Smaug being like a fully realized character with like motivation.
Yeah. So he is as sentient as he is powerful. He's somebody who has, I think of dragons as, depending on your folklore, ancient. They can live for thousands of years, and he's accumulated as much intelligence and perhaps as much evil and as much ego as one could attain throughout those years too. That's yeah.
Just the image of him too as like this, Scrooge McDuck like dragon swimming and lazily lounging on a pile full of gold is just delicious too.
It's never explained what he's going to do with the gold. He just has it, right?
Yeah.
Like
isn't that all millionaires and billionaires? What do you
basically he's like Jeff Bezos or something like that. He just has a lot of money and he wants more gold to have it.
Yeah.
But mainly he's happy sleeping on it.
That is an interesting aspect, I think, of fiction and fable and fantasy, is that really it's a lens through which to examine human behavior. And the dragon, in that case, having the behavior of greed makes it more nefarious. So, we did have a mention of Smaug in here in our crowdsource. I won't do this with every darn thing you mentioned, but now I'm struggling to find it. And note to Jeff, who's editing this. Oh yeah, Arno Stemmer did mention Smaug, and he was, I think, one of a few. So, thanks, Arno. Michael, it's your turn to pick your second dragon.
My second dragon is King Ghidorah, the 3-headed space dragon with giant bat wings and chief nemesis of Godzilla in the Godzilla family of films.
What a good choice. I was almost made my list. I had 5 that I had thought of really strongly, and this was between this and another one for my 4th. So great choice.
I like him because he's kind of opposite of Smaug, how we just mentioned. He always just comes in and just wreck shit up.
Yeah.
His only job is to come in and just blow things up and get into these huge nasty fights with Godzilla and destroy towns in Japan. And he's a space monster, so he's destroyed other planets before, and he's usually he just comes in and he just is just a force. And I do like that Godzilla is the strange protector of Earth, even though he is also just kind of like this powerful force, and he's just always trying to repel be it Rodan or Mothra, but in this case King Ghidorah. And just to have that title is pretty awesome.
It's like King Jerry Lawler or something like that. I'm not sure what court of law or who exactly deigned him to be king, but it seems to be official.
Yeah. One of my favorite appearances of Ghidorah was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, when they're riding. Pee-wee gets his bicycle back, and he's kind of riding his bike, being chased by security guards through like the Warner Brothers back lot, and somehow they're filming like a Godzilla movie on one of the stages, and Godzilla's smashing through like miniature tanks, and there's King Ghidorah like on wires and man in suit sort of level stuff, and Pee-wee just kind of rides through, and this thing's swinging around haphazardly. But he's just a great dragon. He's kind of has that Hydra nature with the three heads, and I don't know if you cut one off, if it would grow back in that same sort of style, or if that was another one of Godzilla's enemies that would happen to. Mm-hmm. But I would think that kind of like the old Greek myths, they probably borrowed a lot of from there.
Yeah, I think mainly Godzilla just punted him whenever he got mad. That's basically what happened. No, I love this pick. I love the fact that he is one of the few monsters in this kind of universe that almost never teams up with Godzilla at some point. Mm-hmm. It doesn't become like Godzilla and Mothra are buddies or anything like that.
Yeah.
Why
are we fighting?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, none of this. I think there might be one Mothra movie where he like comes to help him out, but that I think it might have been like one of the '80s ones where basically they just threw out any sort of backstory at that point.
Would you consider Would you consider Godzilla a dragon, or is he more of a dinosaur?
I think you have to have wings to be able to be considered a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I think wings and flight are at bare minimum. I would say you don't necessarily have to breathe fire, although it helps.
What about that thing when Godzilla like stands on his tail and like zips across the land like an asshole?
Right.
Does Mecha King Ghidorah support this too? Do you include him in this vision? Isn't there
in his industrial phase?
Yeah.
He started listening to Nine Inch Nails and
this a wiki, of course. I just going right to the wiki, and it said that at one point Ghidorah was meant. There was rumors he was meant to represent the threat posed by China, which had at the time of the character's creation just developed nuclear weapons. But the director denied it and said, "Nah, he's just a dragon. He's just a cool dragon." Who's I as a young person, I think Ghidorah. I don't know why I bought Gamera, but did not buy Ghidorah. Like Gamera was just a frisbee that they threw around the head of rockets on four sides of it. Oh wow. And then, but for some reason, I don't know. I think it was his three wobbly heads that were clearly kind of muppeted from above. That he never really bought it for me. That's Jeff's opinion. Sorry. Okay, then we are indeed at our halftime, and want to thank you. So thanks for listening to us. I know you don't have that much spare time. No, wait, you've got all the time in the world, but we appreciate you using some of that on the Mount Rushmore podcast. I want to invite you to use some of the free time that you may have, you don't normally, to go on to our social media sites and give us suggestions as to topics you'd love to hear us tackle. And, previous suggestors have become participators in the podcast by guesting on the show. You need not, but it might happen. So you could do that by going to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or you could also comment and let us know where we messed up in past episodes, what we should have thunk of but didn't think. And then you could also, while you're at it, go ahead and download, rate, review past episodes on all the different places that you can find our podcast, which is all the different podcast places. And with that, I think we are back, and it's got to be Richard.
It has got to be me.
It's got to be Richard.
Jeff?
Sir?
Who's your friend when things get tough?
Oh, wow. Let's see. My wife? My living wife?
No, it's HR Pufnstuf.
HR Pufnstuf.
Yay! So that is my third choice, is HR Pufnstuf.
Oh, cool.
The lead character and titular character from a show that only lasted like 17 episodes. For some reason, right? I thought that it lasted at least 2 or 3 seasons.
Oh, wow.
But it had a very limited run, but made a very strong impression on the conscious of America. I think those Sid and Marty Krofft shows, they tended just to throw them out for like 12, 15 episodes and then quickly move on to something else. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what the reasoning is behind that, but
that's a Mount Rushmore topic. Mount Rushmore of small number, big impact, something or others.
I have been reading a book about the Filmation animation studio and realizing there was only about 7 episodes of the Super Friends, and kids just don't care. Just repeat them over and over again. I remember as a kid when I realized, oh, this is the one where the booger monster fights them. I would get excited because I knew it. You know, I was going to see it again. Sure. So there was about 10 episodes of the Batman Tarzan Power Hour. I think Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, there's about 4 episodes. And Electro Woman and Diana Girl, there was like 1 episode. They just played every. But why did you choose this?
Because the show is so weird. I remember it sort of there was the local independent station had a block that was just half hour or an hour of rotating Sid and Marty Krofft shows.
Yeah.
So H.R. Pufnstuf would come on from time to time. And even in a world of fuck-uppedness that Sid and Marty Krofft shows are, this was pretty weird.
Oh, yeah. Trippy, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, to the point where, again, much with Puff the Magic Dragon, people assumed that H.R. Pufnstuf was a reference to marijuana, which Sid and Marty Krofft have denied regularly on many occasions. But you can see, looking at this like 6-foot tall, kind of like chintzy looking dragon with like this giant head and a mop of red hair.
Yeah.
And he speaks in a southern accent, even though Jimmy the Kid is British.
Yeah.
I think it's the symbol of a dragon as, I think the best way to describe this, it's the symbol of a dragon as almost like the way a kid would draw one.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you had like a 3-year-old and you asked him to draw a dragon, it might look a little bit like H.R. Pufnstuf.
Just bits and pieces, big red globs here and there.
Yeah.
And then you look at it and you're like, okay, yeah.
That looks like a dragon. That's a great dragon. You did so good. Yeah.
Well,
that's exactly what.
It was a crocodile, or was it an alligator? I forget who. There was other characters. It was what a person. It's like what suit they had, right? Pretty much.
Right. There's a frog. There's a frog that they're the two like hamburger looking. Cop things.
Yeah.
Cling and clang. And he had Jimmy had a magic flute.
Yeah.
That Witchy Poo was always trying to get. It's just a messed up show.
What I would say that many people agree, and I think that was probably one of the leading responses for the crowdsource. Tom Gibbous, H.R. Pufnstuf, Janet Campbell, H&R Block.
He does your taxes.
Human Resources, Pufnstuf.
We know what H.R. stood for, right? H.R. stood for Henry Rollins. Not a lot of people know that, where he got his name from.
Rene Ruiz. So, yeah, a lot of people were very much impacted by H.R. Pufnstuf. That is an interesting aspect, too, because it seems like Sid and Marty Krofft did borrow from, it felt like European at some point, and then and as a young person, I encountered the H.R. Pufnstuf about the same time I encountered the McDonaldland series of commercials, the campaign that had the Hamburglar and Mayor McCheese, and so Ronald was kind of cut from the traditional clown kind of format, but then all these crazy characters that they had there. Grimace, who's just, and Grimace, originally had 4 arms, I think, like that. But
yeah.
And later on, I did learn that Sid and Marty Krofft were wooed by McDonald's to create the campaign, the McDonaldland campaign, and they wanted too much money, so McDonald's said, "Screw it, we're going to do it ourselves." And then later on, Sid and Marty said, "Screw it, we're going to sue you for doing exactly the same characters that we do on our show."
Even the Ice Capades had decided instead of the Sid and Marty Krofft characters, they were going to start using the McDonald Land characters. And that was apparently like the final straw.
That's hilarious. So what were you a fan? Did you encounter, because there were some things as a kid that I watched, but I even knew at the time, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I think it didn't start coming on. I think they didn't have that block on my local independent station until I was like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
So I was certainly past the point of innocent childhood wonder with it. And I think I was looking at it more as, wow, the 60s, early 70s were a weird time.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was more what I got out of it than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. Winfield, you did say this was on your list, did it?
No, I have such a just personal block of any of like the Sid and Marty Krofft shows. Like I've probably seen one, something or other. I have no, like, the only memory I have is like other people making pop culture references to this. So I have like a wealth of like information or knowledge or visuals from people talking about it, but I have no like firsthand. It just it didn't hit me. I mean, I was definitely if I was stuck inside on like a Saturday, it was like all Gilligan's Island.
Yeah. When I think of
whatever it was, it's just like I can tell you what happened on like every episode of Gilligan's Island.
Do you remember the Gilligan where they went to Dracula's castle or something? It was something that showed so rare. You would see the Wainwright.
It was like it was a mad scientist castle. Like someone was abducting, and then Gilligan had to go and rescue him somehow.
Yeah. I almost thought they were fumigating their island set that week, and they had to go shoot at Universal Studios or something like that. Oh, man.
They managed to get off that island pretty often.
Yeah, they did. What was the animated? When Curly.
Sorry, Richard. We hijacked HR Pufnstuf.
Sorry.
We're now talking about the Globetrotters.
Yeah, we're off. Yeah. We're off in yet another Gilligan's Island digression.
Do you remember Skipper? I bring this up all the time. Skipper would look right at the camera. None of the other actors would. Alan Hale Jr. would just every once in a while do a take and just look right into the camera. And I was a kid going, "What the fuck is going on here?" Like, he knows. Skipper knows. Skipper knows. Skipper knows he's on a show. Nobody else does. Winfield, what's your third?
Well, I'll stay in the 60s with a 1960s dragon, and this is the comic book character of Fang Foom.
Oh, wow.
Created by Stan Lee in 1961. I mean, one of the many that Stan Lee created. And he's on my list basically for one reason, and he's just this – I'm going to double down on like space dragons. He's a giant space dragon that came to Earth to, I'm sure – try to enslave it or destroy it, and he just wears giant purple underpants. And you got to respect a guy that can pull that off.
Do you feel like Stan Lee entered the superhero era, but then still had a bunch of monsters left over? He went in like, well, sure, we got Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four, but there's this thing called Fang Foom that I want to do. Come on,
Stan. His origin story for the name of this guy is as Stan Lee as possible. And this is just reading straight off of Wikipedia. So let me read this real quick in the voice of Stan Lee. When I was a kid, I loved going to the movies. When I say kid, I mean 10, 11, 12 years old. And there was one movie I'd seen. I remember nothing about it except the name. It took place in China, I believe, and the name of the movie was Chu Chin Chow. Now, I have no idea what it meant.
My apologies, listeners.
I don't know if it was somebody's name or a country or a city, but I never forgot that name. Those three words just stuck in my memory. Chu Chin Chow. So when I was looking for the name of a monster, I remembered Chu Chin Chow, and that particular meter, that beat, somehow led to Fang Foom. That was from a 2005 interview. And that is everything you need to know about Stan Lee.
Yeah.
And I guess Chu Chin Chow was a like 19 like a not a Broadway play, a London play that was kind of based on Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, and when things happened at kind of around the turn of the century, as we all remember, where there's a lot of just like learning about other cultures in a very vulgar way.
Oh yeah,
right.
Whether it was Native Americans and appropriation of imagery and Chinese culture, and just no matter what.
Of that. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Come to the World's Fair and see the Zulus and their native habitat, that sort of thing.
Well, I guess it was just like like a comedy farce play, from 1917 or whatever, and just the origin of this ridiculous space dragon. And, he's just like any other space dragon. He's got super strength and flying powers, and I'm sure he has some sort of blasts that he can shoot out with his mouth or raise, and he's trying to, enslave the human race, as all dragons from space want to do. And he's fought with the Fantastic Four, and he's fought against Iron Man, and teamed up with the Mandarin, another troubling name for a character.
Oh yeah.
But I just love. I think what I think is interesting is probably because they made him a talking character, they probably felt that they needed to put underpants on him. I bet if he was just a dragon that just wrecked shit, they'd probably leave him, unclothed. But probably just having to have him speak and have personality, I bet they thought, you know what, we gotta cover him up on his downstairs business.
So who would win in a fight, him or King of the space dragons?
Space dragons.
Him or King, or the King.
I think the King. Fin Fang Foom is great, but I think
it's kind of lightweight. Yeah. All right, listeners, if that's enraged you, please go online and state your opinion.
Pick it up with Stan Lee. I didn't do it. I'm reporting the news here.
Stripperella would win.
The news.
Okay, Manfredi, what is this is
my fourth?
Yes, sir.
And my last one is the dragon from the seminal 70s through 90s game show Tac-Tac-Dough.
Whoa.
This is incredible big.
Wow.
There's a bonus game where it's called Beat the Dragon, starting in 1978.
That's
and
awesome.
There would be different numbers on the board. Or there'd be different numbers on the board, and behind the numbers, they would have a computer screen. So if you pick 2, it would go to whatever was behind the screen, and normally it was cash or O's or X's or the word win. It would be like the grand prize. But there was one guy lurking out there, and that was the Tac-Tac-Dough dragon. And if you chose it, it did a whole 2 animations where it went from filling up some of the screen and looking very scary and angry to filling up all of the screen and looking exactly the same.
Oh.
Because apparently this was like the first use of computer animation in game shows, was the Tic-Tac-Toe dragon.
Wow.
And I remember, and it would make like a roar sound. And I was probably 4 or 5 when I first saw this show. And
eating bacon sandwiches in a mud pit.
In a mud pit, eating tar for candy. And I just remember it's one of my first memories is seeing the Tic-Tac-Toe dragon and running out of the room screaming, crying, because it scared me so much.
Do you think the Tic-Tac-Dough dragon and the whammy from Pressure Luck would go out for drinks afterwards and be like, man, I spent all day hiding behind these letters and buttons, and I just need to vent.
Oh, I love that.
These idiot players, man, they kept finding me. They should have stopped.
I want to read your fan fiction about the Price is Right mountain climber. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, great pick. Okay,
that one's so funny.
What's your final one, Winfield?
I wanted to end on a high note with a nice dragon, a good guy dragon. All my dragons are like kind of evil or bad or invaders. So I thought of Falkor from the Neverending Story.
Oh, cool.
Who is a luck dragon. It's kind of more in line with the more Chinese style dragon that is kind of has a serpentine sort of body. I don't think it really has wings. It can just kind of fly by dragon power.
Huh.
And magic. It flies by magic.
Basically. And he's just this incredibly, as the name says, lucky dragon that is very helpful to the main characters in the novel and in the movies, Atreyu and Bastian. He flies around, gets him from place to place. In the book, I guess he's obviously a bit more fleshed out and kind of the image of him is probably more in line with what like a Chinese or Asian dragon would be. Kind of has like more of a lion's head. And in the movie, the 1983, 4, 5, I don't know when it came out, he kind of looks like a big grandma's dog.
Yeah.
But he still has the same scales and claws, and there's something so strange and odd about his look that I thought, God, he's just so intriguing as a dragon, but it's kind of within the same, it's like when you see like all the different species of like dinosaurs, to get back to dinosaurs, a T-Rex looks so vastly different from a Triceratops and so vastly different from like a Diplodocus or whatever, but they're all part of the same. You all recognize them as dinosaurs. And I think that just like the Chinese serpent version of a dragon is so different from kind of like the European medieval dragon sort of creature, and so different from the video game 1970s behind a scoreboard whammy creature. That I don't know. I just thought that it was interesting to have like a good dragon. I don't know. You don't see them. They're always terrifying. But when one is like a good guy, I thought that was pretty cool.
One of the ones I could think of would be Toothless from the How to Train Your Dragon series.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen those. Are they?
Oh, they're great. They're really good. Like I remember going to see the first one in the drive-in, and it was sort of like, yeah, okay, it's DreamWorks, so I'm always going to hit and miss on their stuff.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. And the second one's really good too. I haven't seen the third one yet, so I can't comment on it. But I know I really like the first two. And Toothless basically does a face turn at the start of the first, in the first movie. Not to spoil it too much, but yeah, no, Toothless is another good guy dragon. But you're right, there aren't that many of them. They're kind of, I think they're either seen as sort of these lovable oafs half the time, or they're like these scary, frightening things that will burn you to a crisp.
Mm-hmm. I will say that Leslie Gallagher chose Falkor. There were a lot of Falkor loyalists who were kind of, when they chose him, they're kind of like, duh, Falkor, of course. And Star Newman chose Falkor. So there are a lot of Falkor supporters out there, as well as Toothless, too. A whole lot of people chose that character, too.
Jeff,
so, yeah.
Jeff, you forgot to mention all the people who all mentioned the Tac-Tac-Dough dragon.
That's right, all the people.
How many people are their names again?
I'm still, the post is still up there. So if you're hearing this now, go add the Tac-Tac-Dough dragon to the list. A week or so after it was mentioned. Okay, so you guys have each entered your choices, and you're all wrong.
I would imagine. Did everybody choose like the Game of Thrones dragon?
A lot of Game of Thrones dragon, but I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to pick Steel Dragon, as submitted by Murray Valeriano, former kickball team compatriot.
Former guest of the show.
Steel Dragon.
What is that?
That's the band that Mark Wahlberg sang for.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay, I did briefly think about the last dragon as a choice, but
there was a good friend of ours and friend of the show and person who we all know and love, Paul Lurie, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yep.
Sure, of course.
Yeah. Who fought Randy the Macho Man Savage in WrestleMania 3. So we're going to go with... Go ahead.
Did anyone go with Don the Dragon Wilson?
Yes.
Martial arts star?
Yes, somebody chose Don the Dragon Wilson. Let me look it up who it was. I'm not seeing it right now. Someone also chose Daryl Dragon, who was the captain from Captain and Tennille.
Oh, that's great.
So that's going
really
on the
good.
board, Daryl Dragon.
Yep.
And
that's really good.
Ollie, the Bucktooth Dragon from Kukla, Fran, and Ollie, struck fear into the hearts of public broadcast audience members. So Scott Jones chose the one from Dragon's Lair. If you can remember losing money in that game that was played off.
We've talked about what a piece of shit that game was. I believe if it's the video, I believe if you go back to the video games that broke your heart episode.
Yeah.
Might have been the first season one. Yeah.
Was that the dragon? Was that the dragon from Dragon's Lair or the dragon from Dragon Slayer?
Dragon's
Lair. The video game.
Scott and Andy Morton are referring to Singe from Dragon's Lair.
Okay.
The Lair of the Dragon. So those are the winners. Nothing you guys mentioned.
Oh, we got 0.
No, you guys each got 0. If this were a game show...
we got whammied.
Is this the episode of Remote Control where they got so mad at all the contestants they just got rid of them after the first break?
Nah, what the hell? Let's go with these choices. Fin Fang Foom because Stanley's the best. Let's go with HR Pufnstuf because you ruined my childhood with your trippy, crazy stuff. Let's go with Tac-Tac-Dough. And why don't we just do Smaug because it was somebody you both liked. So, and Jen, my wife, is right now typing RuPaul's Dragon Race, which come on, baby, come on.
Not sure. I don't remember seeing that at that season.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. That's to be debated. So this has been the Mount Rushmore of Dragons. I, as always, am Jeff.
I'm Richard.
And Michael.
And
Scene.